Today's lesson is looking at area of a circle. Can you get the title, the grade, and also today's date written in your books? Make sure you've underlined the title with a ruler. To make today a little bit easier, I'm going to ask that you don't draw the diagrams. It's just going to take a little bit too much time to get them all drawn and looking neat, when in fact we could really just practice getting the work done, getting the formula remembered, and also working with the numbers. So all I'm going to ask you to do is actually write down the important information from each question. First thing we need to look at is the new formula, so the formula that we're going to use for area of a circle. So for this, I'd like you to write down that the area is equal to, and here we've got a new symbol that you might not have seen before. This is pi. So it's two straight lines like that with a little curvy section on top. Now we'll come back to what that means in a minute. The rest of the formula is then times by radius, which again, you might be not 100% sure what that is, we'll come back to it in a second, times by radius again. So let's go through what each of the bits on this question relate to. Pi is actually a number. Now it's something that mathematicians hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago worked out and basically assigned this little symbol. It's a Greek letter from the ancient Greek alphabet that they decided to use to represent this number. Now what this number does is it just knows it is the link between certain parts of a circle. It works for this and what we are going to do next lesson. So pi is a number. It actually is worth 3.14 with a lot of the numbers after it on the calculator, but we'll use the one on the calculator to be able to do it, so we don't need to remember exactly what it is. The radius of the circle is the distance from the centre of the circle to the edge. Now this could go in any direction, so it could be from the centre going down like this, it could go in any direction. It will always be the same length as long as it's in the centre going out to the edge. So for this example, what we would do is we would take our calculators, and also make sure you're writing it in your book as well, and we are going to type into the calculator pi, so there should be a little button on your calculator that has that symbol, times by the radius, so in this example that's 6, times by, and then the radius again. You do need to make sure you've typed that in fully. You can't press times 2 or anything like that. It must be written as pi times 6 times 6. If you press equals on your calculator, what might come up is this, and it might say 36 pi. I want an answer that doesn't have that little pi symbol after it. So if yours does say this, what you'll need to do is press the little button that says change, and it might have some little arrows on it, or your calculator might have a little button that says SD. So that you need to press, and if you press it, what should come up is an answer of 113.09. So I only need 2 numbers after the decimal point, even though there are probably more on your calculator screen. Just as with all the other lessons we've done so far, because it's area, my units would be centimetres squared. I've got a second example of the exact same thing here. So for this one, if you notice, the radius, this line that goes from the centre to the edge, is now going in a different direction. That makes no difference with what work we do. So I start off by writing down the formula again, and that's equal to pi times, and if you want to shorten it down, instead of having to say radius, we could use the letter r, times by r again. So what I would have to do on this question is pi, which again just remember is the little button on your calculator, times by 9, because that's the radius, times by 9 again. Again, if your calculator comes up saying 81 pi, just press the little button that says change, or it might say SD on it or something like that. Sir will show you if you can't find the button on your calculator that changes it. And then that, if you press it, should equal 254.46. Here, because it's metres, I'd put metres squared as my answer. Now the first few questions that I've given you on the worksheet are a little bit different to this. So just to show you what I'd expect. If it just tells you what the radius is, so if I say that the radius of a circle is 5 kilometres for instance, I haven't got a circle drawn, but I have got enough information to work out the area of that circle. So what I would do is again write down my little formula, equals pi times r times r. I'm expecting you to write this formula every single time so it sticks in your mind a little bit better. And then for this one I would press equals, I would press onto my calculator pi times 5 times 5, which if you type that into your calculator potentially will say 25 pi. If it does say 25 pi, all you need to do again, press that little change button and what should come up is an answer of 78.53, and because it's kilometres, kilometres squared. If you can have a go at the questions on the worksheet, this might spend a couple of lessons on because there are quite a lot of questions on that worksheet, but we'll see how you do. Remember, you don't have to draw the diagrams, but this is the amount of working I expect for every single question. If you need to borrow some calculators, just ask Sir, but make sure you've handed everything back in at the end.